I'm live. Okay. There are those of you who always watch on YouTube. You can understand that I need to get this other thing started first. Which I'm gonna do. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Hello and welcome. This is the podcast I Do What I Want. I am Hollis, your host and creator and author of fantasy. And this podcast is all about books and things of that nature because I'm an author of fantasy and a control freak. And so I get to have full control over this world and podcast. Very exciting for me. Anyway, this week, or, bi-week, whatever, August 6th, we are going to be talking about a character study of Lucretia, who is the main character of Spare the Swallow, as well as the main character of the upcoming series, The Lost Beacon Chronicles, which ignited. The first book will be coming out November 16th is when I have set that. I am done with the first draft. I am editing right now, and yeah, I'm really excited about Ignited. Honestly, I am. So it's a lot and it's cool and I'm ready. Other than that, before we get into her character study, of course, I have other announcements for you because that's what we do here. Basically, so To Save a World, second edition, is out. It's beautiful. I'm so thrilled with the page layout and the new cover. It's gorgeous in my eyes. I designed it, so I'm very biased. But my mom says it's really beautiful. So there you go. My sister-in-law and dad and brother and, my friends, everybody tells me it's gorgeous. I choose to believe them, even though they love me. So there's that. The Queen Witch, of course, has been out with its gorgeous cover that matches. And that is the book 2 in the Rashawn series, the other fantasy series that I write. And that's out. So both To Save a World and The Queen Witch are available for purchase wherever books are sold. Go get yourself a copy. Enjoy. I'm really excited. The Rashawn series will have another book coming up in 2024, and that will be Tear in the World. It is a lot more Aram focused. For those of you who have already read either To Save a World and or The Queen Witch, you know who Aram is, or if you've watched or listened to previous episodes, I did a character study on Aram. So that's exciting. And you will know who he is via that character study episode. I want to say it was like episode 16 or something. I'm sort of pulling that out of the air. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, I'm really excited. Tear in the World is coming in 2024. And another quick announcement is DragonCon is coming up, which Labor Day weekend, for those of you who are not familiar with the nerd cycles of conventions, every Labor Day weekend, DragonCon in Atlanta, one of the biggest cons in America, possibly the world. DragonCon's pretty huge. I think it gets about 100,000 people. This is big. It's big. It's the second biggest. I think Comic-Con and Dragon Con are the two biggest in the US, which is exciting. I'm gonna be there. I tried to get a booth this year. Competition is tough. It's a huge con and everybody wants a booth. So didn't happen this year, but I will be there handing out promotional materials, dressing up in cosplay, and, ready to talk about my books. And hey, if you take a picture of me or with me, you'd want to take a little selfie with me if you find me as an author, then I will post you to my social media. And hey, if you have a book yourself or something like that, I will tag you. I'll tag you anyway, but I'll help promote whatever you've got on my Instagram. So, we can help each other out. And that'll be fun. So come find me at DragonCon this year. I will be there with Alara Dunn, who just released on July 25th her first fantasy book, which is called The Magic Locker, The Witch's Curse. It is the first book in a fantasy series that I am very, very excited about. I actually haven't read it yet. I just got my copy. I'm going to do a social media post about it, and it's a modern fantasy, I guess. Basically, high school girl who doesn't quite fit in, was bullied a lot in middle school and elementary school, but going into high school thinking, gonna it's going to be different. Of course, things don't go as planned, and she accidentally opens a portal to another world. It's just things happen, but she's it's really cool, and it's fully illustrated because the main character is really into art and drawing and keeping a journal, and she the Alara did these gorgeous sketches herself, and she tried to do them at like a 13 or 14-year-old would be doing them, of the journals and what she sees and the fantastical things, and I'm really stoked to read it. So I will be promoting that on my social media as well. But let's get into Spare the Swallow and who is Lucretia. So, Spare the Swallow, for those of you who are not entirely familiar, I've done a whole thing on the world of Cell, which is, I think, like episode 3 of this podcast, which this takes place in. This is a historical fantasy novel. Lucretia is a Docfen, which is a race of people I completely made up. Ah, we're fantasy authors. We get to do that. The Docfens live for roughly 400 years. They are Mediterranean. They're based on the ancient Etruscans of Italy and have basically the same culture and everything else, except they have magic and they are a whole different race of people. Sorry for those of you watching the video. I think my husband just shut that door entirely and it scared me. They're all different race of people, and they, like elves are a whole different humanoid race, and dwarves are a whole different humanoid race in fantasy books. So Docfens are just a new thing of that. They have gorgeous glittering eyes like gemstones in the sunlight, and that is the light of their souls actually showing through in a physical manifestation. And they're absolutely stunning. But when a Docfen dies, the lights go out and their eyes are dull, which is sad. But that's, I'm not going to go into spoilers and Spare the Swallow. Let's talk about Lucretia. Who is she? So we talked about the Docfen traits. They, again, they look Mediterranean. Lucretia is a classic Mediterranean female. And I know it's going to sound like I'm describing myself, but I'm an Italian girl. So Lucretia has dark brown curly hair and brown eyes with her eyes. Actually, I always say they're brown and amber. I gave her a little depth of color there. And, she's pretty, but it's not really focused on. I describe her as people say she's pretty to her, but she doesn't really think about it that much because it's honestly not that important to her whether or not she's physically beautiful. She's really confident, and honestly, and that's it. So she looks, imagine a Mediterranean woman with long, dark, curly hair and brown eyes that are just luminous with light. And she's maybe a little on the short side, like maybe 5'3" ish, not so petite that people like wonder how she reaches things, but shorter than average. And she's really smart. She's a very clever person. She's very quick on her feet. She's quick-witted, and she's a good problem solver. She's a great problem solver, which is why she gets thrust into positions that she doesn't want. Lucretia, being very confident and competent and clever, she honestly gets thrown into positions of authority and leadership that she doesn't want, which and I will go ahead. For those who know me personally and who have read Spare the Swallow, they already know Lucretia is very much like a lot of authors base characters on themselves. Lucretia is based on me. I am obscenely confident. I've always been this way. and I'm not magic, though I wish I were. It'd be really cool. I wish I were magic. And frankly, I am. I'm a really good problem solver. And growing up in school projects, everything, I was always voted the team lead. If there was a group project, I was always voted the one to speak on things. And I didn't want to. I don't have a problem doing it. I don't have stage fright in that context, but I just I don't have any desire to be the leader. And somehow I'm always the leader. Not my Not my favorite, but, the same thing happens to Lucretia. I was even the state rep for immigration. Yeah, I got to be chair for 2 years of the Georgia International Educators Committee and everything, and I never even threw my name in the hat. I was appointed because people just said she would do a good job at this. And I did. Honestly, I did a bang up job at it. I usually do. But I don't try to get it. And that's Lucretia's got that same energy where people are like, you know who gets things done? Her. Let's just let's not even ask. Let's just make her the general of the army. And Lucretia does not want that, but that happens. She's just, oh, okay. We don't want to do this, and you're really good and direct. So please make decisions. And that's what happens to her. And she does, because she also is of the personality type that she understands that people are pushing her into these positions of leadership and authority because they don't want to do it, and she knows she's capable of doing it, so she'll do it. She also values the opinions of others very highly, which again I do too. And I'm always the first to say I will ask for help very quickly if I get to a point where I don't know what I'm doing, or I think it could be better, and I think that it better can't come from me. I am the first to raise my hand and say, help me. This is what I need. Please help me. I would love your input. And Lucretia is also that way, which honestly is also what makes her a very good leader. She talks to her constituents. She gets information. She's well informed, and she tries really hard to do her best, because it's not she's not doing it for herself. She never even wanted to be in charge. She's doing it for the people who put her there. That's the thing. They always say a true hero, or at least, you read about it, the true hero never wants to be a hero. They always want to be sitting on the curb with everybody else clapping as people go by. They're not a hero by choice. They're a hero because people beg them to be that. They beg them to do it, and they just don't wanna let people down. And that's honestly the Lucretia has that true heroism in her. She genuinely is purely motivated, in the sense that she just wants people that she loves and cares about, and her people in general, speaking of the Doc Fen race, to have good, happy lives, and she wants to do her best for them. She could give a crap about the glory or any accolades. She doesn't care about any of that. That doesn't matter to her. What matters is to her is that the people she loves, the people she serves, are going to have that good life, are going to have a good outcome. She wants others to be happy. She wants them to be safe. And frankly, if she had her way, she would just be left alone. she would she would be left alone to live her life, to have, all these things. And I mean, that's what many people want. She's very personally ambitious, and she has goals. She's a mage. She's one of the blue mages in the book. That's what I call the magic users, and only the Doc Fens, as far as the races are concerned. The humans, elves, dwarves, only Doc Fens in the world of Cell have true magic. The others can do things that are sciency, that can be like magic, like we have in our present day, real world, so to speak. But this Doc Vents have true magic. And that is something that, the human races in particular are kind of jealous of course. And Lucretia is one of the people who's learned to control it, to wield it, and we call that the Order of the Blue Mages, or I call that, as the author and creator of this world, I call it the Order of the Blue Mages. My favorite color is like a deep indigo blue, so I just picked that, which is really nice. She is young. Like I said, Dockvins live for about 400 years. I think I said that Lucretia was about 75 at the beginning of Spare the Swallow, and that makes her, roughly someone in their early 20s. by our standards. They age much more slowly, so they remain in certain stages of life much longer than a human being would. So yeah, roughly in her early 20s, thinking of somebody who just graduated college, essentially, and that's her age. So she's just starting out. She's just starting out. She's got all these bright ideas, but she doesn't want to be the one in charge. She wants to get her feet under her. She wants to figure out what she wants. And honestly, that's at the beginning, that's her motivation. She just wants to figure out what she genuinely wants, but she does not get that chance. If you've read Spare the Swallow, things hit the fan and it goes south rather quickly. Poor Lucretia. However, one other reason she's often singled out as a leader, unwilling as she is, she's extremely resilient. She's very tough, emotionally and physically. Well, and honestly, the willpower that rings through the physical. So, Lucretia isn't anything spectacular when it comes to physical feats of strength or speed or anything like that, but you can't knock her down. She's a trained fighter, she's learned how to fight, she's very competent, she's good. She's definitely not the best fighter in the book. Lucretia's got the heart, then and she holds her own in battle 100%, but what makes her more resilient physically is the fact that she will not give up. Her heart and her brain are just like, "No, I'm going to keep trying. There's nothing else to do but try. That's what I'm going to do." And she will keep trying and trying and trying until she gets that good outcome that she truly strives for everyone, for herself and everyone that she cares about. That's what she really, really wants, and that's what is at the heart of her resilience is she really, really deeply cares for all those people, and she just can't let them down. And that is the heart of her resilience, is that's why she never gives up. She's a never give up, never surrender, to quote Galaxy Quest, which is a very fun movie if you haven't seen it. And yeah, but it's just that she's very tough because she's got the heart and she's got the confidence and she's direct and she's like that, which again, kind of based on me. Hmm. Another trait is she's impatient. If we're going to talk about some negatives, she's impatient. She and she can definitely get angry quickly. She doesn't have what you would call a fiery temper, but like I would say that Ethne from the Rashan series, my other series in the classical fantasy world, Ethne is definitely more of a fiery temper in a way. She has a little feistiness about her in that way. Lucretia is triggered by certain things, but she doesn't have a fiery temper. Like she'll take a lot, but if you flip the switch, if you say the thing that triggers in her brain, ooh, she'll cut you quick. Whether verbally or, depending on the situation in the books, maybe she will cut you with an actual weapon. Who knows? But she can keep her cool a lot of the time and have a lot of patience unless you say something that is just like, how dare you?" Like it just pushes the button for her, and then she will turn on a dime on you. So to say that she has a bad temper is not accurate, but if you do something or if you do something to someone she loves, that is a trigger. You will not like your interaction with Lucretia if you hurt someone she cares about, and of course, if you say or do something that she just cannot abide, she'll turn on a dime on you. She will get cold as ice, kind of get you. Though she's not a burn with fire and yell at you person. She is a turn on you and cut you down person. So yeah, she's tough in that sense, and that is not necessarily a positive trait, so, so she does yeah, it's a little hard to deal with. She's a workaholic. One of the things she gets so wrapped up in keeping the people that she cares about happy and trying her best and trying so hard that she's honestly becomes a workaholic and she forgets to take care of herself. She does not prioritize herself, which, you know, is a huge problem. That is a negative trait, negative for her especially, and honestly, eventually negative for the people she loves. Because if as we know, if you are not taking good care of you, then how can you take good care of others? And that is kind of th honestly, that's her Achilles heel, is that she gets so wrapped up in fixing, 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 and helping, 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 and being the one who's in charge that she just, you know, all her needs fall away. And she needs to be reminded that she matters. She does. She genuinely does. And Izek in Spare the Swallow, if you've read it, her very best friend in the beginning of the book, and then it morphs into more as the story goes on. He is really good at seeing what she needs. I love Izek, as you know. If you've heard other podcasts where I love Izek. He is just wonderful, but he's very strong and he's so smart, and I love intelligence, and it's very sexy to me. I love a smart man. Um, but he also sees her, and he sees her in a sense of seeing what she needs, not only seeing who she is, but seeing what she needs. And so he, in the book, several times in Spare the Swallow, Isaac will stop and just kind of stop her and say, "You know what? Come do this with me." And it will be always be something for her. It will be something where he says you need to pause and you need to take care of yourself, and that's that. And she actually listens to Isaac. That the other thing, another negative trait is she doesn't always listen. Lucretia can passive aggressively, and this is another thing I took from myself. Like, you be trying to tell her things, and she'll be like, "Mm-hmm, that's nice," and then turn around and do whatever she was going to do anyway. The name of this podcast is "I Do What I Want." You should know that about me. And Lucretia is exactly the same way. And sometimes that works out, and sometimes there was a better way to do it, or you really should have listened. And when it's something to do with her personally, that's how she is. When it's something to do with the political situation in the book or something like that, she does take advice, she takes it in. But when it's something about her, because she forgets about self care, she will dismiss a lot of people, even her own parents. And they say, "Hey, maybe you should sit down for a bit." She's like, "No, I got this," and she'll move on. But in Isaac does it, she will actually listen to him. And it's not because he's smart. He doesn't tell her, "You need to stop, go do this." He will just sort of pause her, grab her by the shoulders and say, "Hey, we're gonna go get something to eat right now." He'll just let her know, "Hey, you're gonna pause, and this is what we're gonna go do." And that does not give her the opportunity to deny whatever it is or reject whatever it is, because he understands her and it's for her, and she gets that. But yeah, that also plays into her passive aggressive, "No, no, no." It plays into her forgetting to take care of herself in lieu of the needs of others. She really does prioritize others above herself, and that's a huge problem for her. Anyway, it sort of steamrolls in the book. But yeah, that's kind of Lucretia, but we love Lucretia. I mean, I hope, again, she's pretty much based on me. So we love Lucretia because she cares so hard. She just cares so, so much. And she will walk through fire for people that she cares about. She will take a bullet. She will do, I mean, there aren't bullets in my books, but you know what I mean. She will step in front of that charging lion and for your sake. She might not even know you, but she'll take good care of you if she feels that you are a good person. Now, if you are an evil person who is trying to hurt people, then she will let that lion maul you to death. She will allow that. She will be happy the lion was there. If you are a bad person with an ugly heart, she has no qualms about allowing that to go down. But if she cares about you and or even if she doesn't even know you, but she feels you're good, or she feels that, just something is unjust, you will not find a better hero who doesn't want to be a hero. That's she will pull you out of a crashing building. She will run back in and help you down. That is who she is, and it is to her own detriment. She will push you out of the way of a charging bull just to get mauled herself on the horns. That's that is that is genuinely who she is. And yeah, she's a little direct, and she is a control freak. She's a little bit of a control freak. She definitely wants people to, because she's pretty clever, and because, she is smart, and she usually does see the situation in a certain way, and she wants people to be safe, or she wants people to do well, so she'll kind of try to boss people around sometimes, but honestly it's usually for it's almost, in her eyes, it's always for their own good. It's always for the betterment of things, and she never forces, but she does get a little frustrated when all she wants is for people to do well and to have nice things, and she sees a path for them to do it, and she tells them, "Hey, if you do this, you're gonna have great stuff happen to you," and they just go, "Nah, I'm not doing it." She gets really frustrated when people don't listen to her in that sense, because she wants them to have those nice things. She wants them to do well. She wants them to survive, but um so she does, and she never demands that people do XYZ, but she is a control freak, which honestly is another thing that frankly kind of makes her a good leader, is that she's always paying attention to what's going on. So yeah, that's Lucretia in a nutshell. In the Lost Beacon Chronicles, well, and I'm not going to spoil what happens to you, but Lucretia suffers a lot in Spare the Swallow, and she has reasons to fall into a deep, 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 dark grieving process. And the Lost Beacon Chronicles are actually written as her going through the various stages of grief. As many of you know, there are 5 stages of grief. Um, and according to the psychological things that I have read, they can go through you can go through the stages of grief in any order, and you can bounce back into them from time to time. You can go from anger to acceptance, but you can bounce out of acceptance sometimes back into denial. And the grieving process is long, and it's hard, and it's different for every person. But Ignited which is the first book in the Lost Beacon Chronicles, is Lucretia's journey into anger, which, the flames of anger are ignited within her heart. And when it starts, she is in a deep, dark depression. She's in the depression stage, that stage of grief. So you hear this book starts, and she's sad all the time. And, she actually, and she's wandering and everything else. And again, I'm not going to give you spoilers. If you read Spare the Swallow, then you will know and deeply understand why she's so depressed at the beginning of Ignited. Very justified. I think anyone would give her that. But Ignited is her journey into anger, and the subsequent chronicles, the Lost Beacon Chronicles, they are going to be taking her through her various stages of grief. The one after Ignited will be Rampage, and that is, I think I said that's coming out next year. Yeah, I need to write. Uh, but Rampage, as you can tell, that's still in the anger phase. That's full on anger. And then after that, she is going to be transitioning into another stage. I forgot which one it was, but she will. It won't be. She won't bounce back to depression. She will bounce back to depression at some point, but yeah, she's but the Lost Beacon Chronicles, I'm actually really excited to take that kind of psychological spin on it and deeply write through the stages of grief as a character is living through them. And I think I know it's going to be enjoyable for me to write and very emotional for me to write. And I think that a lot of people will find it relatable because we've all been through something that has caused us heavy grief. Book characters, of course, we can put them through the worst kind of pain and display it to the world. But one of the reasons that fiction and, fantasy and all that is so deeply relatable is because these characters are going through an emotional process that people find relatable. And that is something about Lucretia. She just is going through the pain. And we all have suffered through that in one context or another. And we're all familiar with going through the stages of grief for one situation or another within our lifetimes. And some of us are still going through it. Some of us consistently have new reasons to go through it. And some of us are lucky and we don't have to go through it as often. But I'm really excited to write that and to have an entire book series sort of exploring that emotional grievance process and seeing how Lucretia reacts to each of these feelings as someone who frankly has a lot of power, who's a pretty powerful mage who is ambitious and clever, but also has a really big heart and really cares about what happens to others. So, if you haven't already, check out Spare the Swallow and look for the first book in the Lost Beacon Chronicles, Ignited, November 16th. I'm going to do a cover reveal on October 6th. I've actually already designed the cover and I'm really excited about it because I really enjoy designing book covers, so it's a good thing I'm an author, I guess, and that I can do my own things, but I'm really, really excited about the book cover. I'm really excited about the whole story, and, I hope that you will get to know Lucretia better through that, and I hope that this gave you some insight into what makes her tick and what her motivations are, even though I basically just jabbered for 30 minutes. That's what this podcast is, though. It's jabbering. Very exciting stuff. Anyway, as I said before, the To Save a World and the Queen Witch of the Rashan series, they are presently available for sale. Just starting work on Tear in the World, which will be out in 2024. And yeah, oh, and I'm also probably going to release a poetry book in 2024. Yeah, I've been talking with my publisher, 21 Chieftains Press, and okay, Sarah, who runs the publishing runs the publisher, and who's also a really close dear friend of mine. She, you know, she's a wonderful poet as well. Definitely check out Behind Her City Eyes. She's got a couple other books coming out. Very excited for her and excited to read them, frankly. But yeah, I like to write poetry every once in a while. I enjoy that, and I've actually dabbled in it since I was a kid. I actually started writing poems when I was about 9 years old, and I was recently looking back on some of my old poems, and I was like, "I was insightful for a child." Or, and frankly, all of my, 9 to 11-year-old poems are pretty much all about animals, about, like, a cat listening to the breeze as it goes past in the garden and wondering what that cat hears on that wind, and little mountain goats standing on tall peaks and looking down upon the world, which is their great kingdom in the sky, and all that kind of little fanciful childhood thoughts. I was very much still very much an animal person. And when I was a little kid, I did not want dolls. I wanted model horses and stuffed animals and anything that was an animal. I was not a doll person. I didn't want the people toys. I wanted the animal toys. And that was really exciting for me. So I wrote poems about what I loved and my observances of their sweet, wonderful, eclectic behavior. And they were pretty good. And I write other poems too, but I'm gonna shove all that together and make it some semblance of organized and put out a little poetry book. So yeah, there's that. I'm just gonna do it all, and my mother keeps begging me to write a cookbook. Um, so who knows? Maybe I'll find time to do that too. It won't have any measurements. That's not how I cook. Thank you so much for listening. I genuinely appreciate it, and I genuinely appreciate all of you. I hope that you will come back and see me again.